What ho, just skirting over the week so far. We've had the budget in the last day, and the week started off with the Gary Lineker affair. It was good to see it getting such coverage, and it was good to see it coming to some kind of a resolution before all the attention turned to the budget. It was good to see the potential for extremism being pointed out, and obviously here in Northern Ireland we have been concerned about the recent attempt to unfortunately murder a member of the police service, and also the intimidation of a paramilitary flag being flown outside a place of worship further down the road from here. So there are things that we need to keep track of in our society, in the UK as a whole, in the world as a whole, in the current context of Europe, obviously. And then we had the budget this week. Not much for Northern Ireland, really, apart from the Barnett formula. Unfortunate, really, with a £110 million shortfall in education, but certainly glad to hear of the extra money for further and higher education. 40 million takes the pressure off the department for the economy. But obviously we have health, and we have a waiting list of 378,000. And this is a figure for the DUP to think about, because it isn't inconceivable that 1% of that 378,000 waiting list might unnecessarily pass away, might avoidably die due to a delay in treatment. And what is the significance of 1% of 378,000, which happens to be 1 in 5 of the population in Northern Ireland? It is that the figure comes out at more than 3,700 people. That is actually the same number of people who passed away during the Troubles. So that is what is at stake here as we try and have compromise, and we try to move away from the consequences of extremism or the consequences of democratic impasse. If 1% of this very long waiting list passes away unnecessarily, it's a Troubles death toll all over again. So DUP, have a think about that. And maybe whilst some of your representatives are in Washington at the moment, you will begin to put together a plan for next week, which involves an assembly recall either next Tuesday or next Wednesday, so that we can have an executive formed in time for the end of March, which is what Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, the leadership of the Democratic Unionist Party, had pointed towards. He had pointed towards the panel which has been set up, trying to come to some kind of resolution and assessment by the end of March. Yes, end of March would be beneficial, but why not next week, a little bit before the end of March, and a little bit before the end of the financial year, so that an executive can be reformed and we can actually have some kind of a local say with our budget, rather than it being done through London again, because we saw Whitehall organising our energy support payment between Christmas and New Year, whenever our own representatives had been inept because of the democratic impasse. So whilst we are very grateful for the work that all our representatives do in their local constituency offices, we do want to see them back, and we do feel, many of us, that it has reached break-even point. And that was illustrated by a figure that was announced today. That figure was that there was a shortfall of 300 million in health. I've already mentioned 110 million savings being sought in education, but there is a deficit of 300 million in health. And it just happened to come up in my memories from this time last year that we were talking about another 300 million. And guess what that was? That was the early stages of the energy support payments, which were supposed to be set up by our local assembly. They could not get in, they could not agree on that 300 million 12 months ago. And that was money that was being provided for the assembly to provide help for the people of Northern Ireland. And they were not able to do that. So not only were they not able to deliver 300 million, which was being given to us for the people of Northern Ireland, but now, 12 months down the line, we are hearing that they are not addressing a deficit in health alone of 300 million. That is what I would call a break-even point. After the extensive negotiations, the extensive compromise, and the extensive potential that there is within the Westminster framework, surely these contrasting amounts of 300